not, I mean, it doesn't always happen, but I do my best to try to stay away from that. And I'm just going back and introducing, I use a lot of complementary colors too. I'll just you'll notice that what I'm doing here is I'm throwing some reds in here and oranges in here, and I'm changing. I want this to change up. I want it to move in terms of energy from sort of like because there's nothing worse than just a stagnant same hue all the way up, same color all the way up, same value all the way up. Nothing is true like that. Lines in nature, trees in nature, they have light going on, and there's all kinds of different things that are happening. So you get all of this sort of different kinds of stuff that happen here to give it its presence. So you'll find that I'll end up doing a lot of that. And the other thing I try to stay away from and do is, you'll notice that I don't like straight lines. The overhang of a home. To run a straight line is boring. So move it around a little bit, make it crooked. The shadows play on that stuff. They're not always straight. And we tend to go through and do the same thing. We all do this rigid straight line that comes across. And it just, for me, it just doesn't work. So I'll turn all of this stuff into stuff at some point, but let's so I got a tree here, I got a tree here. I'm going to end up with a tree over here. Yeah, let me get out of this. Let me just, so that you can see what I'm doing. All right, so I got something coming down here, and if you wet, that's the other interesting thing is that if you wet it, and if you have clean water, and you wet it, and you put your tonal value in there, whatever color you choose, what'll generally happen is it'll follow the path of least resistance. So it'll either wick down or so trees are in trees, as you know, branches are going all over the place most cases. But what I try to do is to keep them as convincing as possible by changing up the value as it comes down. And if you get an idea as to what I'm doing, I'm keeping the angles of the branches so that they're believable, hopefully, as a typical characteristic shape. So I will generally try to work with 30-degree angles or 60-degree angles, not 45s, not 90s. It may be true in nature. You may have a tree in your backyard where you got something that's going up like this and come off this way, but it just doesn't look right. It's not convincing as a real tree. So what I try to do is to study. Most of the time I'll go out and I'll look. I had a teacher in school. I loved her. Well, we used to argue a lot. Well, she was cool. But she used to say, if you want to paint trees, go out and hug a tree. And it's true, because that's the way you get, we need to understand what we're painting. So if you don't understand how bark works on a typical elm tree or an oak tree or whatever, then how do you paint it? You just look at it, a picture of it, and say, oh, well, no. So you really got to get a feeling for this stuff. And I try to do that. I'm not always successful at it, but normally, when I'm doing this stuff, this would all be done. I'm doing this particular tree right now, but this is all done at the end. This is usually not even done now. And the other thing that I do and a little tip is when you're doing these branches, take them just a hair beyond where your next limb is going to come out. Because if you do that, again, it becomes a little bit more convincing, and you can go back in here. I don't mean to be teaching and being professorial. I'm just telling you how I handle this thing. So I come in and I do this, and then what I'll do at wherever a branch meets another branch, you come up with a trunk, come off with a branch, a limb, a twig, whatever, wherever they reach, a little dark spot. All right, and what happens when you start to get back here is when you look at that, you see movement. You see, oh yeah, and that's just a good idea if you guys are painting to keep in mind. It'll make it that much more fresher, that much more interesting. You don't need a lot of pigment to go over. Just hit just a little bit here and there. Now I'm using red just to show you what, but you can use any color you want. Again, in nature, everything is fair game, I guess, So, and then some of this stuff is going to be a lot darker. The thing you don't want to do, I found the hard way, is to do your branches thicker than your trunks. We don't want the stuff over here to be so. It doesn't work. And then go, now I'm moving, you notice what I just did is I went from here to here. So this is warm, and then I went into a cooler color as you go up. And now as I get thinner, and I'll just going to show you this because we got a little time. As I get thinner, I'll take a well, I didn't bring one with me. Sure, a rigger. Oh boy. Yeah, this is one. But I'll take a rigger, all right? And then what I'll start to do is I'll come out here with lighter, because the thinner the branches get, you got more sunlight on them, so you're not going to see them. You're going to, so you get all of this sort of interesting patterns that can take place. So I'll display around, but just a little bit of I don't know how I handle winter trees. It's winter trees because there's no leaves on them. We'll throw a couple of leaves on them, but in a sense, well, they still have. I mean, we all have. There's still desperate leaves that are still hanging on for dear life, and a lot of the, I got some ash around the house and stuff, and they just don't want to. They don't want to let go. They just
So I've noticed that you do. It's like a grid of 6 squares, and that's what maybe they teach you. You go from left to right, top to bottom, background to foreground, but horizontally you seem to do in thirds. And
you're saying to me I've got a third, and I'm coming across here. Nothing's dead center except for this, but that's, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, it's just design elements.
I haven't done that in a long time, but now it's reminding me that that's.
It's important to understand that good painting is not only, you have to have a painting well designed as well as well painted in order for it to be appealing or pleasing to somebody. Because if I go and I do, if I take something and I put everything dead center, then you're becoming very symmetrical in terms of your approach, and you don't want to do that. You want the relationship to be this to this. You don't want to put everything in the center ever. It's Fibonacci's. There's 2 things that happen with this stuff, and it's all based on math, really. You break it up into thirds. You're right, third, and my optimum is going to be right here. This is where I want your strength. That's a third over. This is the area, right in that area where it's a third and a third, and that's where I want you either here, 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 or here. So that becomes, after you do enough of these, that becomes second nature. You just do them. But with me, I mean, I just retired. I've been in the professional advertising and marketing and creative services all my life. So when you're designing a brochure, you work the same way. When you're designing a promotional piece or an ad or you're designing anything like that, anytime you put it down, you're constantly designing. So it's just been built into my head. It's a design element. So I do design automatically. I had to learn to do color. I had to, but design.
But you're good at math.
No.
No?
No, I'm not. No, I just take the fundamentals. I mean, the fundamentals teach you that when you want to appeal to somebody, you don't want to. If everybody did everything dead center, you'd be boring. If everybody lived in a gambrel or a cape or a what's the worst, a colonial, a box, and it's not that it's not good living, but it's not appealing from a painting point of view. What is appealing is when you do stuff that hangs off. You've got a home over here, and you've got stuff that's hanging off the house this way. This is much more. This is a box that's boring, but this makes it. This jutting this out and coming across here makes it more interesting. That's what I'm saying. Is that so we're constantly trying to create interest when we paint. So trees that are juxtaposed, so that you got one forward, a couple back. And you notice that when I did this is close to this, but there's a little bit of big space between here and here. It's all design elements that you're working with. This is one of the reasons why I never get a painting done when I'm doing these things, is because I find that people are more interested, and I'm not kidding you. I'm saying people are much more interested in the information than they are anything else, and I think that's a good thing. I think that for me to give you information or to help you is fine. I mean, I'm a believer that. However I came by my knowledge, you're here not just to watch me paint, because I can be silent and paint and not say a word and not say anything, but then you're going to sit down and say, hey, well, I don't remember how he did it or what he did or whatever. So I just try to give you as much information as possible. And this is why you'll see a lot of stuff down here. This is cool to warm. You're going to see a lot of more warm stuff in here and cool stuff over here, because I'm always moving. Warm to cool, light to dark, going from one color to another. That's, to me, much more important than me doing a finished final piece that's absolutely magnificent. And so what? I can do those. I'm not concerned. That's not a problem. A lot of times what people will do is, and I can do those in an hour. I mean, this little thing here, these don't take long when you're concentrating on doing it. Because this was quick. And it was an accident. Because I did this was a teaching element. I was teaching somebody how to do these things, and I did one, and I did another one for another class, and I did another one for another class. And finally I said, screw it, why am I going to the edge? Let me just do something that's really quick and easy. And it worked out better than all the others, I think. Anyway, I'm sorry. You ready? I apologize. Oh, I'm teaching, yeah, I teach at the Plymouth Center for the Arts. I have 3 classes on Thursday morning, noon, and night. I have a class on Friday morning at the Plymouth Center of the Arts. And I just wrapped up teaching at the Situate Arts Center. But I filled in for a woman who went down to Florida for a couple of months or whatever. But we're trying to get an oil class up at Situate going, because if we can get enough people, I'll teach oil up there. So let's get this stuff going over here a little bit more. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make marks that are going to be hopefully more indicative of trees back here. All right. So what I'm going to do is do these interesting darker sweeps. Sweeps. I want this to look. Oh, darker, dark. All right, you got me. I'm from the area, right? Oh my God. When I say windows instead of windows, I just catch myself doing this. Horrible.
Most people don't notice it.
What? What's that? Most? Yeah, but if you get away from this area enough, you will. And I was away from it, and I'm falling right back into it. I mean, my accent is right back where it used to be.
I was in Kentucky for 10 years, and I still see it, I guess.
Yeah, and I have a sister that's down in Tennessee, and she talks like she's got this twang, and she drives me crazy.
Well, I don't have the twang, but never did, but still the phrases, the way that they talk. It isn't Winders.
Yeah, I remember doing that to a fellow that was from New York I used to work with, and I said that. I said, you know, God, look at those windows, they're dirty. And they said, what? What? What?
But my father would say Haas.
Haas, yeah, Haas. My wife is from upstate New York, and the problem is that she, evidently in that whole area that she's from is probably the best area for correct speech. Anyway, and it's a constant battle. It's a constant battle. What are you saying to me? Huh? Yeah. Well, I was only told this from a professor that was a speech professor. So I don't know this for sure. I'm just telling you what I was told.
Well, it used to be that they would send television newscasters and things like that to Ohio
To
this speech.
Well, you know what? I can understand that. Sure, why not? Midwest, yeah, I can see that.
I like the fact that they're taking a movie and they want to put Boston flavor in it.
Oh,
Nobody can copy the accent.
I know.
they are horrible. It's very horrible. Absolutely, I agree. Except for the people that are from here. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing is I'm just giving this a little bit more flavor, a little bit more tree kind of, without getting detailed, and yeah. This is, you don't want people to. I don't want you to get married to this stuff back here. You know, that's. We just want to get some suggestions of, and then what I can do with that is go back in and where I've got it, and I don't know if I can do this right now, but scrape. Oh, we can't. It's too dry. Yeah, scrape some of this stuff out a little bit to get because normally I'd be putting trunks in there and stuff, tree trunks in there and stuff like that too. All right, so let's get this in here. Let me move right along. Get this over here. Got a tree, and let me get some windows in the house. Windows. Door. Do we need a door? Yeah, we'll put a door in there too.
Put dog running in the front yard.
Dog running in the, a couple of cows. I don't know.
The sign is
Maybe a pig. Hogs. I don't know.
keep outside.
Okay, so windows. We want to windows. I want a small brush is what I'm looking for. Yeah, I'll use this one. So let's do. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to just start. We'll start to get this thing defined a little bit more. Please forgive. Oh, you're over there. That's good. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to come around. We're going to come over here and make this some of this a little bit darker. All right. This is going to be a little bit darker. We're going to put a. Let's put a couple of windows there. A couple of windows here. Maybe a big window here. One up here. One in here. I'm just doing suggestions. This is just a suggestive. All right, a little darker area for the door area here. Yeah? All right, I'll leave it alone. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. And my little guys, my people, I got a person that's here. I don't know if we can do this. One there.
Any suggestions for painting people, John?
Yeah, paint them carefully. Don't paint them like they. Don't use no detail. Just suggestion. Just a suggestive. Just sort of study. The best thing that you can do about people in paintings is to go study just gesture. Silhouettes are wonderful. Because we really don't care about looking at whoever they are. You know, they're there. They're there just to help carry the painting, that's all.
Maybe trying to figure out why belt signs there.
Oh, I haven't, well, they know why. No trespassing. I want to do something here too. I don't know if I can do this. We have a road. Let me see if I can do this. Not sure this is going to work out. Oops, that's not where I want the road. That's where the road's going to be, though. Bring it up here. Make it go off this way. And we'll make it go beyond. Come in here. Well, not quite. Not quite what I want. Not what we want to do and kill the road. The road's going away. At least that's going to go away.
How do you know when to walk away?
Good question. Very good question.
It's a hard thing to do.
That's the most difficult for all of us that are painters. When do you walk away? Now? Close enough? I don't know. I mean, you can walk away at any time. I just want to get a little detail. I'm about ready to walk away. I just want to get a little bit more detail in here. It'll,
Do you like to do a landscape to completion, or do you
Oh.
sometimes sleep on it?
well, usually what ends up happening with me is that I will do 90% of the painting, get away from it, come back in 24 hours and look at it fresh. Because I can't see what's going on right now, believe it or not. I know I'm painting it, but I really don't know where this is going. You know where this is going better than I. So I have to get away from this and take a look at this fresh in order for me to really decide what I want to how I want this thing to be finished up. But you know, for all intents and purposes right now, it's okay. I mean, it's all right. There's nothing. As long as I've got something in there that I can be comfortable with, then I'm in good shape for coming back tomorrow and finishing it all up. But it's for you, because you want to see this quite. I got to finish it. I got to do something here to finish it up. Enough. So I've got this. I got this tree down here that's going across the brook. You do it with a bigger brush. We have the shadow underneath it. be what? Yeah, well, I want you remember the light's still coming down and snow can be coming across it, so what I want to do is I want to catch the dark underneath here. I want this area under here to be as dark as maybe, so it's